Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to the second part of my Collectormania 18 video diary. It is now Wednesday. I didn't get home till late on Sunday and I was working Monday and Tuesday, so this is the first chance I've had to do this part of the video. I'll start with a little bit of housekeeping from part 1. Firstly, I stupidly forgot to mention that I also saw my friend Sam, who runs the Autographs Are Us forum on the internet, and it was nice seeing her. Secondly, I made a bit of a boob when talking about Finn Jones, and his character in Sarah Jane Adventures wasn't called Finn. His character's name was Santiago. Why I thought it was Finn, I've no idea, but there you go. Thirdly, I need to show you the Photoshoot pictures that I hadn't collected. So first up is my Karen Gillan one. And next is my Tom Baker. Okay, I think that just about wraps up Saturday. So going on to Sunday, I arrived at the venue about 7:45, far quieter than on Saturday. I was about the 20th person in the queue, if that. There was only one queue this time because there was no huge guests. It was pouring down with rain, to put it politely, and whereas it was lightly raining on Saturday and they let us in nice and early, they didn't let us in until 8:30 to be undercover bit, so I had 3/4 an hour standing getting soaked, but hey ho, such is life, etc. Got in. We were told that the queues for the primeval couple were to the left and everybody else was to the right. So, shot to the left to pick up tickets for them, and they weren't giving out any tickets. So I thought, okay, go around the other way. Went to the right, and still no tickets anywhere. And somebody had forgotten to bring all the tickets up from the office. So the whole point of getting there nice and early looked like it was being completely wasted. However, it was only a minute or two before the tickets appeared, and I went round and picked up and got nice low numbers for absolutely everybody. First guest I actually met was Lena Headey. If you recall, I had a photo shoot with her on Saturday, and I mentioned then how she's a huge favourite of mine. I was a bit apprehensive meeting her, partly because I'm such a huge fan of her that I didn't want to be disappointed, and partly because of most of the roles she plays, very serious roles. I wasn't too sure how she'd be. As it was, she was an absolute sweetheart. Told her I'd been a fan since Loved Up, which was a 1995 BBC TV film that she was in, and she was shocked that I'd seen it. I had a nice selection of photos for her to sign, weren't on her table, so she was talking about the photos. There's a particular one which you'll see where she's got broken fingers, which she's highlighted on the photos, and she was telling how she'd tried to set them herself using a Buzz Lightyear toy, and her advice is never to set broken fingers using Buzz Lightyear, which I told her I'd take to my grave with me. She spotted me in the queue wearing my Molotov Jukebox t-shirt, which is Natalia Tenor's band, and so she'd already spoken to me and said, oh, nice shirt, and about the band and about that. So yeah, really nice lady, lovely conversation. Because she's a favourite of mine, I actually took 5 photos for her to sign, and it was only when I was adding them to my website this morning that I noticed that the one with the broken fingers she actually hadn't dedicated to me, but the rest of them have, so here they all are. She wasn't allowing photos in the queue, mainly because her agent is the infamous Judy Caitlin Brown, who prefers all her guests to just sign lots of autographs and get as much money as possible and sod with fans. But I tagged a photo shoot with her Saturday, so I wasn't overly concerned. Next, after Lena, I popped to the person who was sat next to her, who was Brandon Routh. Brandon's most famous for playing Superman / Clark Kent in Superman Returns. He's also in Kevin Smith's brilliant film Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which isn't quite as rude as it sounds, but is fairly rude. And that's the still I took to get signed. It's not the best quality picture because most of his shots were 2 shots, and this is one I found on the web that had zoomed in slightly on him, but at least it was just him in it. I talked to him a bit about a film I watched last week that he was in called Life is Hot in Cracktown. Very dark film about the drug scene in, I think it's New York, might be LA, can't remember now, somewhere in America. Very dark piece. And we were talking about that and how his character was sort of the comic relief, although not actually funny, but more of a light-hearted character. And since his character sort of just disappears halfway through the film, what we suppose happened to him. But yeah, really nice guy. I did meet him last time he was over, which was just after Superman Returns came out, when, as you can imagine, he was very manic. But this time he was still very busy, but had time to chat more, and also had time for photos at the table. So here's the still he signed for me. And here is the photo I had with him. And I'm reliably informed by the ladies that he's a very handsome man. Next after Brandon was Louise Brealey. Louise is Molly in Sherlock. I follow her on Twitter, and she seemed from there that she would be a fun person to meet, and that was an understatement. Lovely lady. Talking about her Twitter, she had a sign up advertising her Twitter account, and I said she should put on it warning strong language. She said, why, does it offend you? I said, no, it doesn't offend me, but I never thought that Molly would be such a potty mouth, which made her laugh. Talked about all sorts of things. On one of the photos I bought to get signed, she was telling that it was actually 10 years old, and how pleased she was that when I cropped it to fit it to a 10x8, I managed to miss off her wonky toe from the bottom corner of the picture. And she signed it along the arm for me, and as soon as she finished, she thought, oh, I think I've just ruined it, which I told her I completely disagreed with. I thought it nice and different and quirky, and how pleased I was that she'd done it. Not sure she was entirely convinced, but she should have been, because I meant it. She hopped on the table to have a photo with her. The crew member took one, and Louise said, oh, I think you better take another one. I was doing something silly, which she'd already said 2 or 3 times to people in front of me in the queue, so I said to her that should be a new catchphrase. But as it turns out, she was right, she was doing something silly, because this was the first picture. And this is the second one. And these are the photos she signed for me. After Louise, I met Jason Momoa, who is probably best known now for playing Conan in the remake of Conan the Barbarian. And he's been in Stargate Atlantis, and the reason I wanted to meet him is because he was in Game of Thrones. Nice guy, wasn't doing posed photos. Again, I think it was his agent's decision. I mentioned that I've seen him limping, and that's because he'd been playing football on the Friday down on the pitch with a couple of the other guests, and then he'd spent most of the Friday evening party on the Bucking Bronco apparently. So I joked with him about that, and then he spotted my Molotov Jukebox t-shirt and asked me where I got it from and said it was cool. But nice guy, and this is a photo he signed for me. I had a few minutes to kill before I had to go to my first photo shoot of the day. And as I've already mentioned, I was wearing my Natalia Tenner's band Molotov Jukebox t-shirt. And as I'm walking around the concourse of the stadium, I suddenly hear a, "Yes, mate!" And then before I know it, Nat stood right in front of me, flings her arms around me, gives me a huge hug and just screams, "Yes, yes, yes!" in my ear. Which, as you can imagine, made my day. And that sort of threw me for the next 10 minutes or so. So it was a good job I didn't go and meet anybody else, because I probably wouldn't have been able to say anything, because that would have been playing in my mind. So, after Nat had accosted me, it was actually time for my photo shoot with her. So, in the queue for the shoot, and she's clearly not very well. She had a stinking cold, but she's being her usual lovely self, taking time to get everybody's names, and in a vague attempt that she might remember them later, and also to say to each one of them, "I hope it's all right." As I got up to her, she went mad again, loudly proclaimed, "This is my band," and, well, it's easier to show you what then happened. So this is my shot with Nat. After my shot with Nat, I met Roxanne Mckee, who's probably still best known for being in Hollyoaks, but since leaving there was in the wonderful BBC Three series Lip Service, and is now in Game of Thrones. Stunningly beautiful woman. She had a sign up initially when she got there saying no flash photography or videos. It quickly became no photography at all, or videos. Whether that was for health reasons, or whether it was just because she was stuck on a very, very cold concourse, and she didn't want to keep having to get up and down when she could be all wrapped up. I don't know, but it's her own prerogative, and I had a photo shoot with her later, so I didn't mind anyway. But she was really nice to talk to, very friendly, very warm. I took a couple of my own photos for her to sign, and these are those. After Roxanne, I met Deborah Watling, who is a Patrick Troughton era Doctor Who assistant. Lovely lady. We were talking about the cold. She told me off because I'd taken my fleece off and I was just in the t-shirt, because I was in between photo shoots at the time and I didn't want to have to keep taking it off and on. She was asking me whether I'd spent all my money yet, to which I laughed and said no, but I was getting close. And she was saying yes, these can get expensive, and I said yeah, but I could always be wasting my money on booze and fags. And she said yeah, that's the right attitude to have, keep it up. Really nice lady. This is a photo she signed for me, which I'd brought with me. And this is me with her. Next it was on to my second photo shoot of the day, which was with Hannah Spirit of Primeval and S Club 7 fame. A busy photo shoot, so it was a quick in, pose, smile, go, but she made time to say hello to everyone and seemed very nice from that meeting. And this is the shot. After Hannah, I met Callum Blue. Callum's been in lots of things. Prime reasons I wanted to meet him were he was in Sarah Jane Adventures, and he was Billie Piper's love interest in the second series of Secret Diary of a Call Girl. It was a photo of that I took up, and he said it was the first one he'd had all weekend. And we had a little chat about the programme, and he asked if I was a Billie fan and if I liked it because you can see her a bit naked. And I denied all knowledge of that and said no, it's purely for artistic reasons. And he joked, he said, well, I got to see her a lot naked. But then he said, well, actually, she was pregnant at the time, and men and pregnant women shouldn't really mix. And then we had a little chat with the two young female crew members who were with him, all about how they weren't going to have babies and were never going to be pregnant. And he joked with one of them and said, well, if you're not going to have babies, you better wear protection when you have sex. And she said, it's all right, I have bum sex. Which obviously killed the conversation stone dead. Yes, it was an unusual conversation in that the two men were defending babies, although we both hastened to add as long as you can give them back at the end of the day, whereas the two women were saying how much they couldn't stand babies. Yeah, but as I say, really nice guy. Here's a photo he signed for me. And this is me with him. Next after Callum was my third photo shoot of the day, which was with Louise Brealey, or Molly off Sherlock, as she wrote on one of my photos. Don't know if you spotted. It's a special shoot they were doing with her in front of a replica of the 221B Baker Street door. Louise remembered me from earlier and said hello again. She'd been saying hello again to quite a lot of people, and then said, I don't know why I'm saying hello again, I've never seen you before in my life. But then when she saw me, and she said, oh, this time I can say hello again. Posed in front of the door, and had to have a second shot taken because you could just see a bit of the edge of the backdrop from the door on the first one, but here are both shots. After Louise, I met a couple of snooker legends. First up was Joe Johnson, former world champion. Very nice guy. Like most of the snooker players I've met over the years, clearly adept at meeting fans, quite businesslike, but not in a bad way. Bit concerned that there's a little mark on the photo, but I said it didn't matter. But nice guy. Here's a photo he signed for me. And this is me with him. The second snooker legend was Willie Thorne. Again, very businesslike but very kind. I joked with him about the cold weather, and he said, yeah, actually he was just about to take his jacket off and start sunbathing. Here's a photo he signed for me. And this is me with him. Next was my last photo shoot of the day, which was Roxanne Mckee. Clearly she's not a touchy-feely person because there was no arms around each other on anybody or anything like that. But she was posing nicely and was quite happy for you to get quite close. And I'm pleased with the photo, and this is it. After my photo shoot with Roxanne, I went to actually get my autograph from Nat Tenner. When I got in front of her and she saw me, she just gave me a big smile. And then when I put down the photo that I had for her to sign, which was one of her band Volatile Jukebox, which is a fantastic photo that they'd posted on Facebook, which as soon as I saw, I knew I had to get signed. She got all excited and was showing it off to the crew members sat with her. And she put a lovely inscription on there, which you can see. And when I said to her, I hope she gets well soon, she gave my hand an extra tight squeeze and said thank you. And she was a pleasure, as always, to meet, and I shall probably meet her every time she does a convention. After Nat, I met Richard Hope, who is a British character actor who's been lots and lots and lots of things. My primary reason for meeting him is that he was one of the Silurians in a few episodes of Doctor Who. But as I say, he's been in so many things, so I wanted a nice general shot of him, so I took my own photo, but they did have the same one on the table, which I mentioned, and he asked if I'd rather get one of their ones signed, which was matte, and I said no, I'll stick to the gloss one that I've got. Just had a general little chat. Then the crew member who was with took the photo, and he said to me, oh, there's some people behind you, I hope you don't mind. Is that okay? I said, no, it's fine. He said, oh, it's just, I know you like to put them on the web. I said, oh, I'm infamous, and he said, yeah. Well, he said, I've been doing these a lot, and I know you have, and I've seen them up, and you do videos as well, don't you? So hello to him if you're watching this. And the photo's fine, thank you. And this is the photo. And this is the autograph. After Richard was time for my autograph with Hannah Spirit. As mentioned before, she's in Primeval and famously was in S Club 7. Very busy, but still taking time to do post photos and dedications. And when I got to her, she was asking me if I was enjoying myself and just having, just being really friendly and nice. Signed the 2 photos I took up, one of which her boyfriend, who was sat next to her and was the next person I will be talking about, Andrew Lee Potts, said that he hadn't seen that shot before, and she explained to him when it was from. And then when we had the over the table photo, she snuggled right up close to me and was just absolutely lovely. Here's the 2 photos she signed. And this is the shot with her. So the next, as I mentioned, was Andrew Lee Potts, who is Hannah's boyfriend, stroke fiance, I believe, and plays Connor alongside her in Primeval. I actually mentioned to him how much I enjoyed a film he was in called Popcorn, which is a very lightweight British film, never going to win any awards, enjoyably crap, shall we say. But I said I'd enjoyed it, and he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, it was far from my best work." I said, "No, you were alright in it. Some people weren't, but you were." To which he laughed. This is a photo he signed for me. And this is me with him at the table. Next was Olivia Darboux, who, if you recall, I had a photo shoot with on Saturday. And as I mentioned, Ben, big fan of, most famous for Conan the Destroyer and Wayne's World 2, and she's been in Star Trek. And I mentioned to her a couple of films that I really enjoyed that she was in. One's called Bank Robber, and one, which isn't as salacious as it sounds, is called Live Nude Girls, both of which I thoroughly recommend. And she was pleased that I was mentioning films that obviously hadn't been mentioned to her that day, and she had a nice little chat and about the photo that I'd brought up to her, which was one I'd got off the internet. Really nice, really chatty. She'd actually, the person before me, she was up on perched on the table for a photo with, so she stayed up there and said, "Are you going to want a photo?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, we'll do that now, shall we?" So we actually had the photo first, and then before she actually did the autograph, she said to the person behind me, "Are you going to want one as well?" So she had a photo with them as well. Kill 3 birds with 1 stone. But yeah, very nice. Talking about how the character in the photo she signed for me, Molly Richards, she'd actually based on the Are You Being Served character of Miss Brahms, played by Wendy Richard, and slipped into a Cockney accent, which made us all laugh. But yeah, as I say, very, very nice woman, very pleased to have met her, didn't disappoint. This is a photo she signed. And this is her perched on the table with me. Penultimate guest for the weekend was Blanche Ravillec, who played Dolly in Moonraker, who was a character who Jaws falls in love with, which pushes him over to the side of good. French lady, English wasn't great, so didn't have a long conversation, but she was very pleasant. Came round the table for a shot, and this is it. And this is the photo she signed for me. And then finally was Jaws himself, Richard Keel. Richard's not in the best of health, he gets around on a scooter nowadays, but he seemed very pleasant. the crew member spotted my Multi of Jukebox t-shirt and was talking to me about that, and about Nat Tenor, which I think might have slightly annoyed Richard Keel, because he then started holding a conversation with the crew member about where the crew member works, and I think it was yogurts and ices and all sorts of things. Then I've sat down next to Richard to have my photo taken with him, which another member of the public kindly took for me, so I'm a slim chance that you watch this. Thank you very much again for taking it. But as you can see, Richard was definitely posing, shall we say, with the fans. This is my shot with him. And this is my autograph. That was about it for the day. A couple of people stopped me and said hello. There was a young girl who I met as I was whizzing through the dealer room, who shook my hand and said how much she enjoyed the video, so hello to you. And I think your name is Paul, you're in the Italian Stallion boxing gown, and you said you've commented on my videos in the past. You stopped and said hello back to you again. But yeah, good weekend, tiring, as you can tell. I met a lot of people, lots of women I've wanted to meet for quite a long time. Special favourites, Nat Tenor obviously, Lena Headey, Sophie Wu, Callum Blue was a lovely bloke, but everybody was nice. Louis really lovely. Wasn't a perfect weekend, weather was horrible, very cold on Sunday, problems in the photo shoot areas, particularly for Karen Gillan, and I believe they had the same problem with John Barrowman, in that they didn't call them by numbers. I believe lots of people had problems parking, but having got there really early, I had no problems whatsoever with parking. But by and large, good weekend. Enjoyed it as ever. Next one is London Film and Comic Con in July, which I intend going to, although money might be a bit tight. So I don't know if I'll be doing 2 days, 1 day, or neither. I'm probably almost certainly going to do at least 1 day. But there are people I want to meet both days, so we shall see. But thank you for watching and listening to my rambles. You can always check me out on Twitter at mpharris1999, or go to my website www.mpharris.co.uk. Goodbye.